here.
Wait, here, looking there.
Look to there.
Or to him,
Or
it
to
doesn't
me.
really matter.
You know what? We don't have professionals.
Back and forth.
Chronicles of the Nerds here with Cebulski, the international talent superstar of the Marvel entire everything.
Marvel universe, corporate universe.
So, CB, you have the extreme responsibility and pleasure of basically finding new creators.
Yep.
Now, as somebody that's looking for new talent, what are some of the key things that you're looking for from people?
It's different for writers and for artists. So if we want to talk writers, what we're looking for is, as cliche as it sounds, it's an original voice. It's something unique that we haven't seen before. It's someone who can take our characters and knows the language of the characters, knows exactly what the characters do and how they move and what they'd say, but places them in an unfamiliar setting. I keep saying, sometimes people say, "Oh, pitch me a Wolverine story," and I'm like, "Okay, come on, bring me a Wolverine story." And 9 out of 10 times they bring a Wolverine story I've seen before. Wolverine in Japan, Wolverine in the Danger Room, Wolverine in a bar. And it's like, I don't want to see that. I've seen that. I've been there and done that. Some of the most classic Wolverine stories are in that setting. Bring me something new. Bring me something different. Take that Wolverine character and come up with something that we haven't seen before. And it could be something very simple, And that goes along with another part of the advice, is always start small. We have a writer on Spider-Man. We have a writer on X-Men. We have a writer on Avengers. We're not looking for new writers. You're going to have to start small. Start with 8-page stories, 11-page stories. That's the best way for writers to really get noticed. And the third thing for writers, which is difficult to swallow sometimes, but you have to understand, is that the best way to get published at Marvel is to be published elsewhere. It's very rare that we've ever hired a writer as their first gig is writing at Marvel. They've all been published elsewhere. Small press, web comics, Image Comics, other publishers, novels, screenplays. As long as you can present us with work that you've written and we can review, we know you got the skills, that's your entrance into the doors at Marvel. For artists, it's a little bit easier. We're looking at art of any and all kind. Bring it. We are open to anything you're willing to send us. We accept it by email, we accept it by snail mail. And what we need to see, though, we're looking for storytelling pages. We don't need pinups, we don't need a lot of covers, we have a lot of cover artists. Not to say that we're not looking for them, but our main need is always in the storytelling area. So we're looking for people who can tell a sequential story from panel to panel and page to page with a beginning, middle, and end in a short space. So the most I ever need is 3 to 5 pages, which tells me a story. Starts at panel 1 on the first page, ends the last panel on the last page, but tells me a coherent story that I can follow without the word balloons. Just the person's art to direct me through the story from start to finish.
So CB, if someone wanted to submit work to you, how would you like to have stuff submitted to you guys? Okay. What's the preferable way?
For writers, like I said, it has to be previously published work that we review. We can't review any original ideas with Marvel characters. You have to be published elsewhere first. The best way to do it is to send it into Marvel by snail mail. You want me to give the address?
Yeah, sure.
The address is Marvel Comics, 135 West 50th Street, 7th floor, New York, New York, 10020. You can send it to my attention, or you can send it to the editor's attention. And rather than blanket send something to all the editors at Marvel, know who the editors are, know what your sensibilities as a writer are, and check out what the sensibilities of some of the editors are. Axel Alonso likes darker, grittier Marvel Max stories. Steve Wacker's the Spider-Man story. So if you have a Spider-Man idea, submit your previously published work to Steve, so maybe he'll want to hear your pitch. Nick Lowe is the X-Men editor. He likes team books. He likes, things that are a little bit more fun with some bounce. If those are your, quirks as a writer, send it to Nick. So know who you're submitting to. And for artists, it's real easy. You could just submit to me by email. It's my name, CB Cebulski, CBULSKI at marvel.com. And what I prefer you do is send me an introductory letter first. Don't send me a big email filled with, JPEGs. Yeah, exactly. I don't need all that. My mailbox fills up real quick. Send me an email first. Say, hey, my name is, I'm an artist. I'm interested in penciling for you. Here's my, resume. Here are some links to my site, my blog, my DeviantArt, whatever it is you have, and would it be okay to keep in touch? And I'll email you back and say, yeah, hey, I like what I see, send me over some new stuff, or when you update your blog, let me know, and we just start a dialogue, and that's really what the first steps are. A lot of people expect to send me an email and be like, hey, yeah, I love the stuff, here's a job, and it's not going to happen that way. There's a test period that we go through.
What are some definite no-nos that people should not do if they're trying to get their foot in the door or try to get your attention?
Definite no-nos. I'm trying to think.
I've heard some
horror stories.
that you
I'm trying to be tactful about it. Keep it professional. Don't get personal. That kind of gets a little bit creepy. Like I have people that send me envelopes with little comics drawn about my cats, or they write a letter that they ask about my wife, and
how's the family?
Yeah, I'm a little bit open about that online, but that's because on Twitter it's part of my personality. But there's a line between the professional and the personal, and don't cross that line. It's nice when we get to know each other to ask about that stuff, but when you're someone I don't know and you're sending me your submissions, just keep it professional. Also, don't overload me. Don't send big boxes of stuff. Always send your newest stuff first. I don't need to see every drawing. If you're an artist, I don't see every drawing you've done since you were in 5th grade. You send me a box of sketches. All I need to see is 10, 15 pages of the work you've done over the course of the last few months. And writers, your newest work as well. Send what you think is strongest. Don't send all your novels or all your comics that you've written in one box to try to impress someone with your resume. Look how much I've written. We don't care. We care about the quality, not the quantity. So those are the two big pointers, I guess I could say, that the pitfalls that people fall into.
Once someone has their foot in the door, how do they keep themselves in the door? What are some tips for basically maintaining a status as a comic book writer or a comic book artist?
That's the hard part. Getting your first break and proving it's all about that first job. It's the editor's going to buy the story, and even though they've bought the story and you're into Marvel, doesn't mean you're going to stay in Marvel. You have to deliver in a timely fashion, and you have to deliver quality work, and you have to impress people. And part of impressing people means you have to take that job and levy it into something else, obviously. And the best way to do that is to, one, brand yourself online. Make sure that people know it's out there. See if you could generate some good buzz for yourself, and then in turn make sure that buzz gets back to the editors, saying, "Hey, appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for so much." And send some links to maybe some positive reviews you got. And it's also to keep an open line of communication with the editors. It's not just resting on your laurels and saying, I got my Marvel gig. The offers are going to start rolling in. You have to be just as proactive after your first gig as you were before you had the gig, because the editors. An 8-page story is great, but it might not get noticed by all the editors. They're not going to continue to keep calling you. You're the one that's still going to have to keep calling and still have to keep pitching. And that first rung on the ladder, you can't just stop and rest. You have to keep going, and it's going to be your responsibility to make sure you get that work.
What would you say, CB, is the nerdiest thing about you?
The nerdiest thing about me?
I mean, sure, you work for a comic book company, but that's nothing these days, right?
No. I don't know what the nerdiest thing about me is. I don't know. I have a huge collection of Japanese Star Wars toys. I'm always on the hunt for that.
That is
I'm
cool.
very specific in that too.
Nice.
I don't need the American stuff. Hasbro produced so much great stuff, and Lego, and it's gotten too much. So I try to specifically narrow myself down to only original stuff produced in Japan that you can't get anywhere else in the world. That's kind of nerdy.
That's
I'm
awesome.
very, very picky about what I buy. Jeez, I'm sure I'll come up with an answer later that's even more nerdy. There's a lot of aspects of my life that are like that. But
is there any other advice you want to give to anybody who's looking to break into the industry?
It's easier than ever to break into the industry. There really is. And use every opportunity that this modern day and age affords you, especially the use of the internet. There's never no such thing as overexposure. I always tell people this. If you have a blog, it doesn't matter. Put up some art on DeviantArt. Put up some art on Facebook. Be on Twitter. Post on message boards. Use every aspect of the internet possible to promote yourself and get your work out there and get exposed to the maximum number of people, because you never know where you're going to get discovered. So use the tools at hand, and that's how you'll find success.
Oh, CB, thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you.
All right.
My pleasure.